Hello everyone. Today I want to tell you about my first day volunteering at the city library. It was supposed to be a simple, quiet day, helping people find books. But as you will see, nothing went as planned. This is a story about mistakes, embarrassment, and learning that sometimes our worst moments can teach us the most important lessons. My name is David, and I'm 19 years old. I'm a university student studying literature. I love books more than anything in the world. When I saw a poster at my university looking for library volunteers, I applied immediately. A week later, I got an email saying I was accepted. I was so excited. Working in a library seemed like a dream come true for someone like me. The library asked me to come in on Saturday morning for my first shift. I woke up early that day, even though I didn't need to. I was too excited to sleep. I took a shower, ate breakfast, and chose my clothes carefully. I wanted to look professional and responsible. I wore a blue button-up shirt, dark jeans, and my cleanest sneakers. I looked at myself in the mirror and felt proud. Today was going to be great. I arrived at the library 15 minutes early. The building was beautiful and old, made of red brick with tall windows. It had been there for over 100 years. I pushed open the heavy wooden door and stepped inside. The smell hit me immediately. It was the smell of old paper, wood polish, and something else I couldn't name. It smelled like knowledge and history. I loved it. The library was quiet. Only a few people were there, reading at tables or browsing the shelves. I walked up to the front desk. A woman with short black hair and round glasses looked up at me. She smiled warmly. "You must be David," she said. "I'm Mrs. Chen, the head librarian. Welcome to the team." I shook her hand and smiled. "Thank you so much for this opportunity," I said. "I'm really excited to be here." She nodded and handed me a name tag that said, "Volunteer David." She also gave me a small blue vest to wear over my shirt. "This will help people know you work here," she explained. "If anyone needs help, they can come to you." I put on the vest and clipped the name tag to my shirt. Mrs. Chen showed me around the library. She pointed out the different sections: fiction, nonfiction, children's books, reference materials, study rooms, computers. There was so much to remember. She explained the system they used to organize the books: the Dewey Decimal System. I had learned about it in school, but seeing it in real life was different. "Your main job today is simple," she said. "Help people find books. Put returned books back on the shelves. Keep the library tidy. And if you're not sure about something, just ask me or one of the other librarians. We're here to help you." I nodded enthusiastically. "I can do this," I thought. Mrs. Chen left me near the front desk and went to her office. I stood there, looking around, waiting for someone to need my help. A few minutes passed. Then 10 minutes. Then 15. Nobody came to me. I started to feel a little useless. Maybe I should walk around and look for people who need help, I thought. I started walking through the aisles, trying to look helpful and approachable. I passed by people reading quietly. Nobody seemed to need anything. Then I saw an elderly man standing in front of a shelf. He was squinting at the books, moving his head closer to read the titles. He looked confused. This was my chance. I walked up to him with a big smile. "Excuse me, sir," Can I help you find something? He looked at me, surprised. Oh yes, actually. I'm looking for a book about gardening, specifically about growing tomatoes. Do you know where I can find that? I felt confident. Gardening books would be in the nonfiction section. I remembered Mrs. Chen showing me that area. I nodded. Of course, sir. Follow me. He followed me as I walked confidently toward the nonfiction section. I looked at the shelf labels. Cooking, history, science, travel. Where was gardening? I kept walking. The man followed patiently behind me. I turned down another aisle. Still no gardening section. I started to feel nervous. My confidence was fading. I turned down another aisle, then another. We were walking in circles. The man didn't say anything, but I could feel him getting tired. Finally, I stopped and turned to him. I'm so sorry, sir. Let me check with someone who knows better. I don't want to waste your time, he smiled kindly. That's all right, young man. We all have to start somewhere. I felt embarrassed but grateful for his patience. I led him back to the front desk and found another librarian, a young woman named Sarah. She immediately knew where the gardening books were and took the man there. I watched them walk away, feeling defeated. My first task, and I had failed. I decided to stay near the front desk and focus on something simpler, putting returned books back on the shelves. That seemed easy enough. There was a cart next to the desk filled with books that people had returned. I grabbed the cart and started pushing it through the library. I picked up the first book. It was a mystery novel. The label on the spine said FICHAR, fiction, author's last name, starting with Hayar. I found the fiction section and looked for the Hayar shelf. I found it and placed the book carefully between the other books. Success! I felt good. I grabbed the next book. It was a children's book about dinosaurs. The label said J567.9. J meant juvenile or children's section. I went to the children's area and found the right shelf. I slid the book into place. This was going well. I continued putting books away, one by one. I was starting to feel more confident again. Maybe my first mistake with the gardening book was just beginner's nerves. I could do this job. I was good at this. I picked up another book. It was thick and heavy, with a dark green cover. The title was A History of Ancient Rome. The label said 937. I went to the history section and found the shelf marked 930s. I looked for 937. There it was, right between 936 and 938. I tried to slide the book onto the shelf, but the space was tight. The books were packed closely together. I pushed a little harder. Suddenly, I heard a strange sound. A sliding sound. Before I could react, books started falling. Not just one or two books. A whole row of books slid off the shelf and crashed onto the floor. The sound echoed through the quiet library. Everyone looked at me. I froze, holding the green history book in my hands, staring at the pile of books on the floor. My face turned red. My heart started pounding. I quickly bent down and started picking up the books. I'm sorry, I whispered to nobody in particular. I'm so sorry. I tried to put the books back on the shelf quickly, but my hands were shaking. I wasn't even checking the numbers anymore. I just wanted to fix the mess as fast as possible. Mrs. Chen appeared beside me. She didn't look angry, just concerned. David, it's okay. Take your time. Let me help you." She knelt down next to me and started picking up books too. We worked together to put them back on the shelf, this time checking each number carefully to make sure they were in the right order. When we finished, she stood up and looked at me. "Don't worry about it," she said gently. "Everyone makes mistakes on their first day. The important thing is that you tried to fix it. Just remember to be gentle with the books and take your time. There's no rush." I nodded, feeling grateful for her kindness, but still embarrassed. I went back to the cart and continued putting books away, but this time I was much more careful. I moved slowly. I checked every number twice. I made sure there was enough space on the shelf before pushing a book in. No more accidents, I told myself. About an hour passed. I had almost finished putting away all the books on the cart. I was starting to relax again. Maybe the worst was over. Then I heard someone call out, "Excuse me, can someone help me?" I looked around. It was a teenage girl standing near the computer section. She looked frustrated. I walked over to her. "Hi, can I help you?" She pointed at the computer screen. "I'm trying to print something, but the printer isn't working. I don't know what's wrong." I looked at the printer. There was a red light blinking on it. I had no idea what that meant. I had never worked with the library's printers before. "Let me see," I said, trying to sound confident. I pressed a few buttons on the printer. Nothing happened. I checked if it was plugged in. It was. I opened the paper tray. There was paper inside. I closed it again. The red light kept blinking. The girl watched me, waiting. I felt the pressure building. "Maybe it's out of ink," I said, though I wasn't sure. "Do you know where the ink is?" she asked. I didn't. "I should probably call someone who knows," I admitted. But I didn't want to bother Mrs. Chen again. I had already made too many mistakes today. "Let me try one more thing," I said. I pressed the power button to turn the printer off and then on again. Sometimes that works with computers, right? The printer made a whirring sound. The red light turned off. Then it turned green. Then I heard a sound I didn't expect. The printer started printing. But it didn't print just one page. It printed page after page after page. The girl and I watched in horror as papers came shooting out of the printer, falling onto the floor. 10 pages, 20 pages, 30 pages. I pressed buttons frantically, trying to make it stop, but nothing worked. The printer just kept going. People in the library started looking at us. Some got up from their seats to see what was happening. Finally, after what felt like forever, the printer stopped. There was a huge pile of papers on the floor. I picked one up. It was the same page, printed over and over again. 47 times, to be exact. I counted them. The girl looked at me, shocked. "I only needed one copy," she said quietly. I felt my face burning with embarrassment. This was worse than the books falling. This was a disaster. "I'm so sorry," I said. "I don't know what happened. Let me get someone." I ran to find Mrs. Chen. When I found her and explained what happened, she didn't get angry. She just sighed and smiled. "It's okay, David. That printer has been giving us trouble all week. It's not your fault. But next time, if you don't know how to fix something, just call me right away. Don't try to fix it yourself." She came with me to the printer area. She pressed a few buttons on the computer, did something I didn't understand, and the problem was solved. She gave the girl her one printed page. The girl thanked her and left, giving me a sympathetic look as she walked away. Mrs. Chen helped me pick up all the extra papers. We recycled them. She explained how the printer worked and what the different lights meant. I listened carefully, feeling like a child being taught a simple lesson. When we finished, she put her hand on my shoulder. "David, you're doing fine, really. First days are always hard. You'll get better with practice." I wanted to believe her, but I felt discouraged. I had made so many mistakes in just a few hours. Maybe I wasn't cut out for this job. Maybe I should just quit and save everyone the trouble. But I didn't say that out loud. I just nodded and thanked her. The rest of the morning passed without any major disasters. I helped a few people find books, and this time I asked for help when I wasn't sure where something was. I put away more returned books, being extremely careful not to knock anything over. I even helped a little boy find a book about astronauts, and his face lit up with joy. That felt good. At noon, Mrs. Chen told me I could take a lunch break. I went outside and sat on a bench near the library. I ate the sandwich I had brought from home, but I didn't really taste it. I was too busy thinking about all my mistakes. The lost gardener, the falling books, the printer disaster. I felt like a failure. As I sat there, I noticed an older woman sitting on another bench nearby. She was reading a book. She looked up and saw me. "You work at the library, don't you?" she asked, pointing at my blue vest. I nodded. "First day?" I said. She smiled. "How's it going?" I hesitated. "Honestly? Not great. I've made a lot of mistakes." She closed her book and looked at me thoughtfully. "Let me tell you something. I've been coming to this library for 30 years. I've seen dozens of volunteers and librarians come and go. Do you know what they all have in common?" I shook my head. They all made mistakes on their first day. Every single one. "Really?" I asked. "Really," she said. I remember one young man who accidentally set off the fire alarm because he leaned against the wall in the wrong spot. I remember a girl who shelved an entire cart of books in the wrong order and didn't realize it until the next day. Mistakes happen. It's how you respond to them that matters. I thought about that. She was right. I had made mistakes, but I had tried to fix them. I had apologized. I had asked for help when I needed it. Maybe that was enough. The woman stood up and smiled at me. "Don't give up, young man. Everyone deserves a second chance." Then she walked back into the library. I finished my sandwich and went back inside, feeling a little better. The afternoon shift was calmer. I worked at the front desk, checking books in and out. It was simple and repetitive, which was exactly what I needed. I scanned books, smiled at people, and said thank you and have a nice day over and over. Near the end of my shift, a little girl came up to the desk with her mother. The girl was holding a book about princesses. She put it on the desk, and I scanned it. As I handed it back to her, I said, "This looks like a great book. I hope you enjoy it." The little girl smiled shyly and said thank you. Her mother smiled at me too. That small interaction made me feel good. I was helping people, even in small ways. When my shift ended, Mrs. Chen came to talk to me. "So, how was your first day?" she asked. I thought about lying and saying it was great, but I decided to be honest. It was challenging. I made a lot of mistakes. She nodded. "You did. But you also handled those mistakes well. You stayed calm, you apologized, and you learned. That's what matters." She told me that if I wanted to come back next week, I was welcome. I thought about it for a moment. Part of me wanted to say no. Part of me wanted to avoid the embarrassment and stress. But another part of me remembered the little girl who smiled when I handed her the princess book. I remembered the man who said we all have to start somewhere. I remembered the woman on the bench who told me everyone makes mistakes. I looked at Mrs. Chen and smiled. Yes, I'd like to come back. She smiled back. Good. I think you'll make a great volunteer once you get more experience. I took off my vest and name tag and handed them back to her. She told me to keep them for next week. As I walked out of the library that evening, I felt tired, but strangely proud. Yes, I had made mistakes. Yes, I had embarrassed myself multiple times. But I had also learned important lessons. I learned that it's okay to ask for help. I learned that mistakes are part of learning. I learned that most people are kind and understanding when you make an honest mistake. I also learned something about myself. I learned that I was stronger than I thought. I could have given up after the first mistake, but I didn't. I kept trying. And that persistence, that willingness to keep going even when things are hard, is more valuable than being perfect. Now, several months later, I'm still volunteering at the library every Saturday. I know where every section is. I can use the printers without causing a paper avalanche. I can help people find exactly what they're looking for. I've become friends with Mrs. Chen and the other librarians. I've helped hundreds of people find books that brought them joy or knowledge. But I still remember that first day. I remember it not with embarrassment anymore, but with gratitude. Because that difficult day taught me that failure is not the end. It's just the beginning of learning. Every expert was once a beginner who refused to give up. So if you're starting something new and you make mistakes, remember my story. Remember that it's okay to struggle on your first day. It's okay to not know everything. It's okay to ask for help. What matters is that you keep trying, that you learn from your mistakes, and that you don't give up on yourself. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it encourages you to be brave enough to try new things, even if you know you might make mistakes along the way. Because sometimes the best experiences come from our most challenging moments.